morning and every night. So that's what I practice. When I wake up, I say, give me the strength to lead this day. And you can have your own prayer. It's best that the prayer comes from your own heart. It has to be connected to you. Better to follow the state of your own journey rather than go with someone else. Go with the organic. Go with whatever comes from your heart. Even if it doesn't sound as delicious as somebody else's affirmation. Doesn't matter. It's more important to be authentic and true to yourself. So, in the morning, make a prayer to the universe. Surrender is just a matter between you and the universe. It has nothing to do with you surrendering to someone and being taken for granted. Again, I come to the notions that we have of surrender in the West. It's about passivity. It's about leaving all action. It's saying, I don't do any action. No. It's about renunciation in action, not renunciation of action. And that I take from Sai Baba. That's not something that I have written. I have learned from him beautiful teachings which connect us to all the teachings of beautiful civilizations all over the world. And surrendering is not doing your karma. It's not about saying things are going to happen. It's about doing your best. It's about 100% effort with 0% attachment. Again, the moment you see yourself as an instrument, the moment you see that things are happening through you, then when you sleep at night, you know heavens are not going to fall. Even when you sleep at night and the body is put to rest, the heart keeps working, the brain keeps functioning, blood keeps flowing. Everything in the body goes on despite you. So why will it stop because something that you are doing is not turning out the way you'd like? Because remember, you have that creative capacity, that set of limitations and possibilities built into you. Only so far and no further shall happen through you. In a whole drama that happens on a stage, everybody has a role. So if you have the role of a mother, you can't be playing the role of a father. If you have the role of a thief, you can't be playing the role of a judge. Recognizing what kind of role that you have, and it comes with its own set of limitations. And having the humility to understand that this is where it begins and this is where it ends. But the universe has many such instruments in different places. If you look at a motorcycle or a car, battery, there's hardware, there's everything. And look at each of us as those separate parts. And so if you have the humility to see yourself as a little part, then you won't be like a little ant walking on the ground with a little rice grain on the back and saying, my God, what's happened to the universe? I wish I could do something about it. No, you'll have the humility to say, I'll do my little bit. I'll keep on doing whatever I can, and the rest will come together. If the world is in a state of imbalance, Kali Yuga, trust that you do your bit and the rest will be done by nature. It will send souls to bring in the balance back. Have that faith. Don't get overwhelmed by the enormity of the problems. Many times we look around and say, "Main hi aisa kar rahi hu, nobody else is doing it. What will I make a difference if I just start doing it?" You will. Believe. Just one lamp is enough to light up and bring light in a very, very dark room. All it takes is one. But have that faith. And don't panic, because many times it happens when I was writing the book. I used to face huge blocks. You're writing about all these beautiful things in a very inspired state. And you go back and you see yourself not in that very inspired state, not acting or thinking with that inspired state of mind the entire day. You might be thinking like that for the first 4 hours in the Brahma Muhurat of the morning, because that's when you sit up and you write. But the rest of the day, things begin to get to you. And then you go back and say, it's okay. Things will happen. I've got limited validity visa on planet Earth. I've come on a certain day, have to go on a certain day, and I'll do whatever I can. Again, reminding yourself, I cannot change somebody else's life for them. But I can change the quality of my own existence. I can change the quality of my own experience. And by that, change the energy in a room that I go into, change the energy of a relationship I enter into, change the energy of whatever I come into contact with. So, having that faith. A lot of people speak about the voice of the conscience and how to hear it. Anything that comes from a pure heart is the voice of the conscience. And whatever will come from the pure heart will not have any justification of the ego in it, because there is no place for it. But to arrive at this pure heart, again, you have to consistently, systematically work towards eliminating the negative energies. And how do you eliminate the negative energies? It's easier said, again. They keep They keep gnawing at you. So the best way to do is to keep ushering in the positive ones. It doesn't matter. Just keep getting them in. Even if they are misplaced, even if connection, surrender, silence, anything. And there are loads of those tips in the book that you'll find. Whatever speaks to you at that point in time. Escape if you'd like. You don't have to change your energy from negative to positive right now. You can do it at a later stage when you feel stronger within. So there are times you need to give yourself time to cleanse your heart. It will happen over a period of time. And then slowly as your heart becomes purer, all you want is something good for yourself. You don't have to change the world, and you don't have to have beautiful dreams for everybody just because they sound nice. One day they will come out spontaneously from the core of your heart like a song of your soul. And the day that happens, that's when it feels authentic. So don't do it till it feels authentic. Just keep purifying, just keep cleaning, one by one, year after year. It will take a long time, but one day you will start to hear that voice that comes from the core of your heart. And you hear it at times. You hear it when you have to do something with your child. Because you are operating from a mother's heart. You're operating from a very, very pure and noble heart. And that voice which comes from the mother's heart is the closest you can come to the voice of conscience. So you know what it sounds like, and you know what the voice of ego sounds like, which you might be using with a competitor, right? So you know the distinction. It's just the courage to follow the voice of that conscience in every relationship, one by one. Give yourself time, and don't even think you will accomplish it all by yourself. Surrender. You can only do as much as your creative capacity. So if an ant can only lift one grain of rice, which by the way is 50 times its own weight, which is a lot, that's it. That's what you can do. So no apologies for it. This is what you're made for. This is what destiny has shaped you for. And slowly and steadily you'll try to increase your muscle in the gym of life, but it'll take time. Oh, this is a little light-hearted one. I thought if I get too serious, I'll try and make everybody laugh. So, patience is really the biggest mantra of it all. If you can actually learn to endure, learn to digest, and not have to react on every single stimulus that you receive from your own mind, from that of your environment, from that of the minds of others, you will do yourself a huge favor in ennobling your desires in just one stroke. So I'll come to the master mantra at the end, but this is a mini master mantra in itself. So again, easier said than done. You have to stretch the frontiers of your patience day by day. How can you do that? Sitting at a red light, traffic jam, somebody really crazy blocking the traffic, try to forgive. Try. Happens. Life will give you many, many opportunities to exercise your patience. There are times you will still lose it, but that's okay. You need to just have the conviction and need to just get more of it. So stock a lot of patience in your energy, in your being, and you never know when it will come to save you through. Mantra 9. This I face the problem of confidence in a lot of youth when I talk to students of confidence. And the only way to get confidence in something is by just doing it and not having the fear of failure or the fear of making mistakes. So many times, let's say when I would speak French in France, so the first fear was, oh, you're a top student, you speak excellent English, you are the head girl of the school, you are feted for your debates, competitions, everything. And here you will land up, you barely utter a word in a foreign language, and the kid in a metro speaks much better than you, and you have this whole fear clutching at your heart, like, I'm not going to speak, I'm going to look so stupid and so foolish. It's okay. You heard learn. It's okay. So within 1 week, I psyched myself out of it and say, if I don't speak, I'm not going to learn. Period. If I don't make mistakes, I'm not going to learn. If I don't have the courage to see myself falling down, making mistakes, and that's okay. As children, we all fell down, we all got hurt, but we all got up, put some maram patti, got back to school, got back to playing. Never stopped us from playing, right? Such is the play of life. You'll keep falling, you'll keep hurting yourself. That's okay. Get up, put some maram patti, get back to life again. So that confidence will come from just doing it. That's all. Just keep doing. And that's what will keep building your confidence. And when you've done enough, take up a lot of challenges. Don't feel happy with past laurels. People tell me I have to put my profile because people have to read it. But for me, in my mind, I'm over it. I'm always looking at what next. Those are the frontiers I have crossed. Good for me. And they've enriched me and they're part of me. And they're important for others to know my achievements, because performance will always speak louder than words. That's another mantra, by the way, a very beautiful one. So many times we have the anxiety of speaking through words, telling people what we are, but at the end of the day that needs to be done. It has a functional role, but beyond that, have the conviction that put your energies into performance, into enriching your performance, because that will any day speak louder than words. One wise lady once told me, "Chand nikal raha hai, kabhi khana nahi pehna." When the moon comes out into the night sky, nobody has to point out and say, "Hey, that's the moon." It just shows. It just happens. It just comes. So put all that energy into performance and fulfilling yourself, not because you've got to shine like the moon, but because you will. There's no way that you won't. It'll all get into you. And then when it comes to you, the shining, the radiance will not kind of come in your eyes and say, "Wow, that's shining," because you're part of it. You're one with the shining. You're not separate from it. So it will be not such a big thing at all. Wisdom comes from witnessing. So many times you see two colleagues having an argument and sitting at your back seat and you're watching them two having this argument and you're like, "Hey, listen, I can see where the problem is coming. The problem is you think that way and she thinks that way. Now you're not bad at heart, she's not bad at heart, you're just coming from two perspectives. What she's saying, what you are saying, both are correct in their own places." That's the voice of wisdom. But it came because you were witnessing. If you were one of them and participating in that argument, perhaps would have been difficult for you to witness. But when you're doing something, you have to participate. You have to get completely into it, completely absorbed into it. So constantly do a back and forth, a va-et-vient of doing and witnessing, of going in and coming out. Attach, detach, attach, detach. And that is when you will have the fine balance of having energy, of having confidence, and also having the wisdom, the patience, and all those nice positive words that you heard about in your own life, in your own behavior, in your own thoughts, in your own conduct, in your own character. Healing comes from harmony. So there are a lot of rifts that happen in interpersonal relationships all the time at all levels. But again, knowing that healing will come from harmony. So identify 4 or 5 people in your family, in your core energy group, that you want to have harmony with all the time. So if you've had a fight with your daughter, it's going to be very tough going to sleep. And God forbid, if something next day happens to a dear one, you'll regret that fight for the rest of your life. Don't give space for such an opportunity to arise. So I have a diary in which I have 5 pictures, and I say, whatever happens, I can fight the next day with these people again, but tonight I will not sleep over the fight. It doesn't matter if it wasn't my fault. I'll just go back and heal, because healing, the harmony is going to be healing for me. I'm going to have a better night. I'm going to sleep better. Therefore I'm going to think better tomorrow and make better decisions in the morning. So you do it again for yourself. You can't do it for the whole world, and shouldn't, because there are a lot of, that everybody is not part of your core circle. There are people who are in your inner circle, in your outer circle, in your outer circle. But do it at least for people in your inner circle, and then slowly extend the boundaries to include other people as well, but with reasonableness. Don't be in a hurry to heal, because if you're in a hurry to heal, then you're probably not allowing that problem to heal right now, and it will emerge later in another form and will bother you later. Sometimes it's important to wait, watch, let time heal, but sometimes where your own healing, your own health, your own well-being is dependent on that relationship, then forget everything. Heal yourself, find your harmony back. That you've benefited from a lot of grace of the universe. You've got 2 hands, you've got a brain, you've got, whatever little things that you take for granted every day, and suddenly a rush of humility takes over you and say, "Oh my God, I have the ability to spend money and buy my meal. I don't have to go hungry to bed." There are millions of things that you have to be grateful for, and that engenders humility in you. And the moment the humility takes over, the moment you feel humble, you really don't grumble. You can't. The two are mutually exclusive. If you're doing one, you can't do the other. The master mantra is really this, but you need to go through the journey of the 10 mantras or any other 10 mantras. Basically, You need to slowly work yourself into this. This is basically saying light, whether it's day, whether it's night, it's the same. Whether it's life or it's death, it's the same. Whether it's creation or it's destruction, it's the same. This is the state of the yogi. This is the state of feeling that that extreme oneness with the universe, that whatever happens, if I'm thrown into something, hey, I'll enjoy the journey. If I'm ejected out of the capsule, hey, I'll enjoy the liberation. Both ways, it's fine. And that's the next step of the Gita. There's another Gita called the Uddhav Gita, after the main Gita, Bhagavad Gita. And in that, Krishna, there's a reminder of Krishna's lesson to Arjuna, because there's a forgetfulness of it. So he just says that you just don't decide what you want to be, because that is the ultimate form of surrender. You just flow with whatever nature, whatever universe has meant you to be. And if it puts you into something, you play that role. If it's put you out of something, you also play that role. Both ways, it's fine. That's the end of the presentation. No more 50 slides to go through. We'll go to the Q&A. Any questions, please?
Better mic, please.
Yes, please.
Thank you, Arvind. That was such an eye-opener, and I do this every day, I think, at work because of the kind of work I'm in. And one thing that you said was about healing yourself constantly. And as I'm growing, I think, in age, I can see a difference over the last 5-6 years when I would react to a situation or people, and because I feel that I embrace, say for example, my friends with a very open and true heart, but you may not get the same back. Earlier I would be upset, I would want them out of my life. I would say maybe mean things behind their back. And I think we all go through that. Over a period of time, that's lessened. Can't say it's finished, it's definitely lessened to quite an extent. But still, when you're healing yourself, and I always say age is not to my side right now. Maybe hopefully as I grow older, I will become more mature about it. Sometimes you feel that you're in such a space where you need all the energy, you're so negative sometimes, Even the day is going well, something is bringing you down and you can't put your finger to it. Then there are these people around you who bring in more negative energy. Their small-mindedness may be pulling you down because you're trying to achieve that creative living you want, and the societal norm doesn't allow you to go that step further. So they probably will badmouth you, they will do many other things, and I think we all sort of face that in our life somewhere, if we're trying to push the envelope somewhere. Would you suggest that at some point we block the energy or embrace that friend and hope to change them, but we're in such a negative zone at some point? Can we do that, or should we block the energy for a while? Say, okay, I'm going to leave the person alone. They should change because I'm doing my bit for myself. I'm not going to think bad for the person, but right now I can't deal with the person in my life. He or she's just bringing me down. So how do you think you would deal with this
how would you embrace the situation?
I think,
what you've just said, Shivani, stands true for each one of us. At some point in time, in some situation or the other, we've been through exactly all of that. And we've been through that exact questioning. But in my experience, I will answer that question twofold. One-fold, that as you are growing in your journey, you have to simultaneously start strengthening yourself, which is what we heard in the presentation. The problem in a lot of our lives, and especially in our relationships, where there is a bond of trust, where there is a bond of love initially to begin with, but because of certain reasons, whatever it might be, that the bond begins to break off, or there are certain cracks that start appearing in that bond. One of the problems that we need to figure out in ourselves is that we hold the attachment, right? We want to receive love from this person only. It's not about receiving love. If it was only about receiving love, there are actually plenty of avenues that you can receive love from. All you have to do is just open yourselves and receive wherever you're getting it from. When you go to a buffet table, do you insist that only this waiter will serve me this dish on this plate that is kept on this table? You might have a certain level of requests to make, but you're not particular. If suddenly another person comes and serves you, or if maybe somebody says, ma'am, we've just got one piece left of that, would you like to try this? Be a little open about it. What happens in our relationships, we want love, affection, respect from this person. And when that doesn't happen, that causes a disruption. That's not a problem of love, it's a problem of attachment. That's one part of the answer. The other part of the answer is you have to start opening yourself to receiving love from everywhere. So if you're going on a train station and somebody, and I've struggled with my bags as a student. You have all these bags, all these books, and somebody just comes and helps you with your bag. That's receiving love. That's a lot of love coming from a stranger, far more in intensity because he doesn't know you and he doesn't have any sort of duty towards you to do that, right? Somebody offers you a seat, glass of water. There is an act of love every day around our lives in everything from anyone and everyone. Becoming open to that, receiving that. So the moment, it's a twofold thing. The moment you start allowing love from other sources to come into your being, you will become less picky about receiving love only from that person in the way that you want. That's one part of balancing. The other part is about how much do you, when you see negativity around you, when you're on your path of creative living, how much do you engage and how much do you detach? How much do you enter the situation and try and influence it with your energy, which you think is positive and can influence positively? And how much do you protect yourself? It's a fine balance. So if someday, let's say you have fever, can you go out for a walk? Can't. There are certain things that you cannot do when you yourself are being pulled down by a negative energy or your own issues are taking you out. On the other hand, if you do have a little fever and you go out for a walk, chances are you might feel a little better. So it is also possible that you are in the zone of self-pity maybe, thinking, me, I, me, myself, whatever, and that's perfectly valid, I do it all the time. And you go out and speak to somebody and find that with some words that you have, some experience that you've had is actually helping out somebody. And that has sort of counter-healing influence on you, and suddenly you feel uplifted from your own zone. That's one part of it. The other part is also realizing that I do as much as I can, and the moment I start feeling tired, exhausted, or the negative energy begins to get to me, I stop. There are certain times when you can't stop, when you have to endure, when you have to suffer. That is the time when you in your sadhana, in your yogic practice, will start doing, for instance, if I put a layer of oil on this glass, or if I put a layer of oil on a leaf, or whatever, and pour some water on it, would the water stick to it or just slide away from it? Yeah? So putting that layer on yourself. Now, what is this layer composed of? What is the chemistry of this layer? For me, the chemistry is devotion and surrender to whatever I call my own God. And you don't have to believe in a God. You don't have to wonder about who this God is. But envisioning a divine parent out there who's watching out for you, who's only interested in your well-being, and having a connection with that, saying, whatever happens, you take care. If I have said something untoward, perhaps you wanted me to say it and therefore I have said it. Perhaps it worked in a larger context. Maybe in my limited consciousness I find it was not good. Maybe in the larger scheme of things you had a design in place and maybe it was helping somebody in some strange way. I don't know. If it was not, this is the prayer I make every night. If this was not so good, please change it and do not allow the energy of negativity that I have thrown to infect. This is my humble prayer. If I have said something that was good, remind me that you inspired me to say it. So the detachment from your actions, from your own thoughts and feelings, and that witnessing vis-a-vis your own self, seeing yourself as a subject, as an object, as another person, not identifying with every feeling that you have or every thought that you have, will help you stay detached from the feelings and thoughts of others as well. Because if you can detach yourself from your own thoughts and feelings, it will become much easier for you to listen to those thoughts and feelings coming from others, negative or positive, and yet have that little gap, that little air zone or little oil slick between you and the other so that there is no stickiness there.
To be healthy, you need to create that balance needs to be there.
Absolutely, absolutely. So as I said,
you can't be a better person by constantly saying I'll heal the world or I'll change you.
You can't
struggle
but
to
you
do that
can't
yourself.
But you can't.
Yeah.
Always remember, again with that humility, which I remind myself, I am not here to change the world. I'm here to uplift myself or heal myself. I don't know. I'm here to work on myself and move from point A to point B, and hopefully that point B will be better in my own understanding than point A. And if walking on that journey, I'm able to create a sense of energy around me which influences people positively, by that token, I am doing the good, and that's a bonus. It's not something that I'm intending to do. We can't even help our own selves at times, leave alone how we can help others. And as I said, use the opportunity as an exercise for yourself, because the moment you get a chance to help somebody, that help, again, remember, could have come through a dinosaur, a donkey, a squirrel, or a monkey. Because the universe can find its instruments anywhere, any place, anyhow. But you have been chosen because that act of helping will uplift your own heart, will flower your own heart, will cleanse your own heart, will give you the spiritual strength that you need at that point in time to progress from point A to point B, from point B to point C. It's being given to you as a gift, as an opportunity for exercise for your own spirit. If it helps, great.